The NFC West, defending NFC champion, San Francisco 49ers.
Yeah, I still wonder about this team and whether or not they're going to trade a wide receiver, whether it's Deebo Samuel or Brandon Ayuk. Both those names were floated out a bunch throughout draft weekend. None of the deals ended up coming to fruition. But when we get to training camp, and this is, sometimes when these things, contract negotiations start to happen, people are checking in with agents. And does this kind of bubble up any bad blood if no one on either side can get deals done with Samuel or Ayuk? And does that trigger a little bit more of a, possibility of a trade, or just go down the other route? If some stud wide receiver somewhere else gets hurt, does that all of a sudden up the trade value for Brandon Ayuk? One of these teams are willing to pay over the moon to get one of these wide receivers. I'm just fascinated to see if we still get to week one and both of these guys are still on the roster.
Well, I think that Kyle Shanahan kind of has that wandering eye, and he's always trying to improve his roster. And look, we saw it with Jimmy Garoppolo. He was winning games. He couldn't stay healthy, and Shanahan's thinking we need to get a quarterback in here who can win games but stay healthy. And so if you get to training camp and Shanahan's thinking, my God, Ricky Pearsall is awesome, and he just picked up the offense instantly, has a connection with Brock Purdy, I think at that point that Ayuk or Samuel becomes expendable. So maybe you were looking to trade them in the draft. Now that you know you have a legit receiver in Pearsall, you feel comfortable trading them. So yeah, I don't think it would be too crazy if one of them got traded in training camp. But at this point, why not wait and see what Ricky Pearsall can do and see how comfortable you are with your receiving room before you make that deal. So I don't think it would make sense to do it before, say, August.
Well, I mean, let's not forget too that this is a team that is very much in their Super Bowl window. And Super Bowl windows, I mean, even even in New England, man, they're finite. Like it can't go on forever. And even, maybe Kansas City can go on forever, but the way that the 49ers are constructed, it's not your normal Super Bowl window because you don't have a Patrick Mahomes. You don't have a Patrick Mahomes. You don't have a Josh Allen. This is the roster is great. It's an incredible roster. It's a really talented roster, tremendous roster. But they also have the issues of Trent Williams, who's one of the best players in the NFL, the best tackle in the NFL. He's getting older. You have Ayuk and Samuel. You're not going to have both those guys on the roster forever. Christian McCaffrey has been incredibly healthy with the 49ers. He wasn't. I think they do a good job with his usage, so I think he'll be fine. But Brock Purdy's going to get a big contract. So the window for this team, to me, it's like, all right, we would have liked to trade one of those guys.
Purdy's eligible for that contract after this season, after 2025.
Right. So to me, it's like you ride out Ayuk and Samuel this season and just figure out what happens. And if for some reason they're causing issues with the locker room, which I don't think they would, Deebo is a beloved guy in that locker room. Ayuk did have the stuff before his rookie season. He and Trey Sermon got put in the doghouse, but I mean, other than that, he's been fantastic. And so I think they probably ride it out, given where we are at this point of the season. But I mean, certainly if Ricky Pearsall looks awesome, it wouldn't be that shocking if they made a move. The Rams.
Yeah, this one's kind of an impossible question because I don't think that you can actually truly answer it. But how does Los Angeles try to replace the production of Aaron Donald? Obviously, used a ton of capital at the NFL draft to get pass rushers like Jared Verse in the first round and also drafted defensive tackle in the second. It's just, you're replacing a generational player in Aaron Donald. And it's going to be curious to see how this defense changes and how they try to replace him.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head there is that, look, you can't replace an Aaron Donald, but the Rams clearly went into the draft thinking we are going to try and beef up on the defensive line and hope that we can hit a home run, hope that we can have the same success we did last season when we drafted Kobe Turner, who has been a great, great pick. And so not only do you take two players on the defensive line in the first two rounds with Braden Fisk and Jared Verse, but you took two guys who were former teammates at Florida State. And so these guys already kind of connect with each other. Maybe that's part of why they did this because
it is part of why they did it. Leslie said that.
Yeah, because you have two players who are comfortable playing with each other. And so you put those two guys on the line and you say, hey, we don't want you to be Aaron Donald. We just need you guys to not get run over, and we need you to team up with Kobe Turner and whoever, Bobby Brown, and we need this line to be good. It doesn't have to be Aaron Donald great. We don't expect that, but we can't fall back much.
They said, because remember, they traded a future second round pick to move up and get Fisk. They traded with the Panthers. And I think they said at the time of in the post draft presser that, or maybe I heard Jordan Rodriguez say this. I can't remember exactly what it was, but when they got Verse, they made a dedicated, aggressive effort to get Fisk to pair with him, knowing that they've seen what these two guys can do when they're by each other's side. And so, by the way, the Rams odds to make the playoffs plus 115. Are you kidding me with this Bears odds?
Wait, the Bears have better odds than the Rams? I'm thinking about picking the Rams to win the division, and
I think about picking the Rams to win the Super Bowl. Like, get out of here with this. Yeah, Rams plus money to make the playoffs is pretty good look. I mean, Sean McVay's had one bad season, and everybody got hurt that year. So I wouldn't be opposed to that. Seattle Seahawks, Sully.
Yeah, this one's more positions specific, and it's just how does their linebacker position shake out? They lost Jordan Brooks and Bobby Wagner in free agency. They did draft the linebacker out of UTEP Knight in the 4th round. So it's just, again, it's nitpicky here. I didn't want to just go like, is Geno Smith going to recreate his magic from a year ago? I just felt like that was a little boring. So how does the linebacker position kind of shake out with Jerome Baker and Dodson?
Yeah, I think this is a good question. And fortunately, the Seahawks have the perfect person to answer it in Mike McDonald, because before he was hired, what did he do in Baltimore? He helped coach the linebackers, and he was defensive coordinator and just did a lot of everything. So I think if you have a guy and you give him this issue, this is an issue he can, he'll know what to do with. And you look at their linebackers, not the ones you mentioned specifically, but Boy Mafe, 9 sacks last season, huge year. They're going to get Uchenna Nwosu, tore his pec halfway through the season, end up missing multiple games to end the year. They'll have him back if he's at full strength. Those two are very, very good. And obviously they went out and did a lot in free agency with Jerome Baker and Tyrell Dodson. And so I feel like those will probably be penciled in as your starters. But man, I have to think that the Seahawks really liked Tyrese Knight, because from what I saw, he was maybe 5th or 6th round projection. They ended up taking him very early in the 4th round. And so if they like you, that usually means the head coach wants to get you on the field as soon as possible. So I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up playing one of those inside linebacker spots instead of Baker or Dodson.
Yeah, this is I did a lot of pre-draft radio with like in Seattle, because they wanted to talk about Peyton Wilson, because they were asking about linebackers, and they think it's a concern there. I think this really kind of undersold. Like, everybody's hyped on Mike McDonald. I think we're excited for him. He did a great job as a defensive coordinator. Comes from the Harbaugh coaching tree, which I think generally you feel comfortable with. But man, I mean, like, this is the first head coach. It's been a long time since the Seahawks had a new head coach. Pete Carroll was there for a really long time. I mean, Pete Carroll got there in what, 2010? 10? I mean, it's been 15 years, it's been 14 years. Like, and remember, he came with John Schneider. The way that it's really intriguing, I think, to wonder what this defense will look like, what the franchise will look like under a different head coach, and if like Mike McDonald sort of carries on the same sort of core beliefs. I just think it's being undersold how long it's been since like Pete Carroll's been there. He has been there for he was the second longest tenured head coach behind Belichick, right? And both gone in the
and he went to the playoffs in 9 of 13 seasons. So I do feel like that puts a little pressure on you when you're taking over.
Yeah, like that. And especially even with teams where it's like, oh, all right, but what is Pete doing? This offense doesn't have enough to cook. Like, he took questionable teams in the postseason. The Arizona Cardinals, Sully.
Yeah, how quickly Kyler Murray and Marvin Harrison can build up chemistry. I think that's going to be, one of those things you talk about where you're going to see these clips throughout training camp and OTAs where Marvin Harrison makes a sick catch, and it's like our Fantasy Football Today Twitter account's going to be like, here comes Marvin Harrison stock. It's going up. But for the Arizona Cardinals to be competitive in 2024 and be feisty in that division is whether or not he can get on the same page pretty much on day one with Kyler Murray, because they didn't have a lot. They really revamped their wide receiver room a ton over the last couple of years. Obviously, getting rid of Hollywood Brown this year, letting him go in free agency, certainly trading DeAndre Hopkins a few years ago. Yeah, absolutely. So if Marvin Harrison Jr. can kind of show up on day one, I think that's huge for them. If not, that they could struggle.
Yeah, I feel like they're going to pick up the chemistry quickly, because Kyler Murray is going to get out there and be like, who the hell else am I supposed to throw the ball to? Michael Wilson,
rookie year, but yeah,
Greg Dortch. I mean, No, they're not bad, but you need a de facto number one guy. And I feel like that has to be Marvin Harrison. The Cardinals, you select someone 4th overall, you are expecting them to walk in there and be the best by far receiver on your roster. They just added Zay Jones. So they do have some weapons. But I do think that Kyler Murray knows that it's important for them to get this quick chemistry because that is going to be what makes this offense go. So I'll say it happens quickly, but man, who knows?
I think the Cardinals are kind of. I think if there's a team that we're sleeping on a little bit in the NFC, it's the Arizona Cardinals. Now, I don't know that they're going to be like great or anything, but Drew Petzing did some nice stuff on offense last year. You add Marvin Harrison, like Kyler came back and played well. They were competitive when Kyler came back, and I mean, I was wrong about it. I thought they were going to tank and get rid of Kyler because I thought a new head coach, a new GM would want to do that. Trey Benson, nice little pickup in terms of the running back position. If Harrison is a generational prospect. And why can't he be? His freaking dad's in the Hall of Fame, and we've seen what he can do at Ohio State. He can come in and be like incredible from day one, and the Cardinals could just be a problem on offense. Defensively, I think they got a little bit better. This is a team. I mean, I wouldn't want to bet them to make the playoffs. I think they're like,
are they minus 150 like the Bears?
Plus 300.
Oh,
that's kind of what?
That's right up your alley.
Sneaky.
They they clowned on, we all did. We all clowned on Jonathan Gannon when he got hired because he was kind of weird. He was giving off like Nick Sirianni intro presser vibes. Just, it wasn't a great first impression, but it seemed like they actually played for him too. Like he felt like he had
they did not quit. They did not quit. Like they had a lot of games, but early on, I mean, they were competitive. I think they covered like the first 4 or 5 games, and that was a big talking point. And then they started, sort of run out of steam. Kyler comes back, and they play well. I mean, it's an interesting team. I think it's a team that could I don't think they're going to go win 10 games, but I think they could cause a lot of problems for anybody who's like sleepwalking past them on a given week.